So, does spending more time on a design actually make it better? Or can you get something just as good, maybe even better, when you work faster and smarter? To test that, I'm going to design and build the same UI 2 times. First in 10 minutes, and then I'll go all in and in a 1 hour deep focus session. Now, obviously, designing anything good in 10 minutes is crazy unless you're using AI, which of course I'm going to do. And the tool that I'm going to use today is Rocket, the newest vibe coding tool I have come across. If you watched the latest roadmap video that I posted, you already know who product unicorns are. These are the people who can design code and ship full product experiences end to end. Not just hand off a Figma file, but actually launch something live. And that's exactly what AI tools can help you. Here's where I found Rocket standing out. Unlike other vibe coding tools, they claim to make mobile apps and not just web-based products. Something I'm going to try for the first time. And they also have a native import from Figma without any third-party plugins. Now that got me really curious because I primarily design for mobile platforms, and it's highly likely it's true for you as well. Rocket is not just another app builder, it's a full stack team in your browser. It claims to think like strategist, designs like senior UX expert, and builds like an engineer, things that product unicorns are expected to do. From a single prompt, it generates production-ready landing pages, dashboards, internal tools, AI utilities, and apps with real-time logic, media handling, and responsive layouts built in, ready to be monetized. You get apps that are stunning, well-structured, and comprehensive without compromising on speed. Compare that to most other tools where you just get scattered components and starter templates that all look identical. So in the 10-minute round, I'll see if Rocket can build out the entire design based on prompts and fragments of the original idea. And for the 1 hour round, I'm planning to work on proper, fully designed Figma screens and use Rocket to add more functionalities for a fully working version of the app. Either way, this is going to be a time-bound exercise, and I have no idea whether I'll be able to fully design and build what I have in mind even in 1 hour. You will get to know it by the end of this video. So let's get started. Okay, now let's begin with the 10-minute version of the design. So here I'm setting a timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so this is the tool that we are going to use. It's called Rocket, and the website is rocket.new. So here we have the text box, and I'm going to write a prompt. So normally 10 minutes is not even enough for you to ideate and know which app you're going to build. But of course, I have done that bit of ideation before, even before starting recording. So here's what I want to build. I want to build an app that generates random inspirational quote. You can tap on a button which shuffles different quotes on a background, a card. You can download the image with the card and use it as a wallpaper or Instagram story or whatever it is, right? And also, you could select the color, the background color of the card so that, a bit of customization is present. Let's go ahead and write the prompt. So I'm going to use voice typing. There we go. Now, ideally, this much of prompt should be enough, but I will add a few other pointers as well, just for the safer side, okay? Since the quote will be inside the card and I will be tapping on a button to change something inside the card, I feel the position of the button should also be inside the card. It makes it more relatable. So what I'm imagining is a card with the quote in middle and with a small shuffle button at the bottom. Tapping on it will change the quote. Okay, what else could you put? Okay. So this is my prompt which I have written. Of course, I could select what I want to build. Like I said, one of the specialities of this tool is that you can also create a mobile app and not just a web app. And that's exactly what I want to do here. So let's click on mobile app, and I have my prompt here, and I'm just going to hit enter. And it is understanding my request. Let's see. Okay, so it says, Perfect. Let's build your mobile inspiration code app with Flutter. So it uses Flutter to make the native mobile apps that we are talking about. Sounds like a beautiful and engaging app where users can generate random codes, customize the card colors, and download their favorite code as an image. Okay, it also lists out the feature that I have mentioned. A random inspiration code generated with a shuffle button, elegant 9:16 cards with white serif text and rounded corners. 4 color switches for background customization. First one is pre-selected. Download functionality to save the code card as image. Clean, intuitive mobile interface optimized for code sharing. The last one I didn't mention, it just assumed, so it is good, okay? Okay, something is happening. Select the screen you wish to build from the list below. Token consumption is directly related to the number of screens generated. Okay, all right. I just need one screen because it's a single screen app, you remember? So code card generator screen is the only one. Of course, I've tried this tool sometimes before, and in some apps, you could have multiple screens. So in this one, it just has one. So I'm just going to click on build my mobile app. Time is running out. Let's see what it does quickly. Working on your request. I know for a fact that it takes some time to process, once all the instructions are given, and it is going to show me. You will see the codes being written, and you'll also see the preview screen. Let's see how quickly it is able to do. I believe this is a simple enough request, isn't it? Let's just wait for a while. All right, there it started writing the code. Okay. Now it picked up some of these things, even though I didn't mention. I could also already see, what colors it is picking up for the swatches. Now I can either go to the code. This is the code tab, and I can go and keep changing it later while, of course, it's writing. See, I've not done anything. All these things are automatically happen. Now it is switching to the preview. So it's saying that it's going to take 5 to 7 minutes to build as per your request. I know that this is not fair when I've taken the challenge for a 10-minute. But hey, no one takes up this challenge. So maybe I will excuse it. I will just take out those 5 minutes from the overall 10 minutes that I have taken because, hey, this is an internal thing. Like I said, what if I give 10 minutes of effort to it? So let's put it this way. Let's see what this has got to do. All right, so it has done generating, although it had mentioned that it's going to take us 5 to 7 minutes. It's actually barely been 2 to 3 minutes, and I already see that it has done some amount of work. It says that created Flutter app for generating inspiration code. It is listing out essentially the things that it has done. Now it is generating the preview. It's generating the preview. You see, this has a mobile screen preview along with an option to change the device. Okay, something has happened out here. It is here. The card color, the background. Okay, I should have mentioned that the background swatches should be dark color. So I did tell it that this needs to be white serif text, which it has picked beautifully, but I forgot to tell it that the background color should be dark for it to stand out. But let's look at the functionality. Not sure if you're able to see that. Okay, it says innovation distinguishes between leader and a follower. It was said by Steve Jobs, apparently. Now, the interesting thing is I didn't feed any quote to it. It is somehow figured that quote out, and there's also a shuffle button here, right? Okay, let's click on that shuffle button, and it changes the code. I don't know where it is pulling the quote from. Maybe it figured out a source or whatever, and when you click on this, it is actually changing the quote, okay? And it is also changing the color, right? Let's try and download and see what happens. Okay, maybe this purple one, and I will just shuffle it a couple of times. Okay, all right. Lots of codes are showing up here. Let's do this. Believe you can, and you are halfway there. Theodore Roosevelt. So the purple color, let's click on download code card, and something is happening. Okay, it's safe to download. It said, right? Something got saved and downloaded. So this is made, right? I think this is functioning. Let's quickly go ahead and fix some of them because it has accessibility issues. Okay, change the color of the card background. Change the background colors of the card to something darker so that the white text over it stands out better. Okay. So it's a basic prompt that I have given. Let's see what it does. And this code canvas is again a name that it has taken itself. I didn't tell it anything. Let's see what it does. Okay, I'm working on your request. It says, I'll update the card background colors to darker shades so that the white text has better contrast and readability. I like the fact, when any of these white coding tools, it just updates and tells you what it is going to do. It's such a great feedback that whatever you have told it, it understood, right? It just paraphrases and tells you back. It gives you the confidence that yes, it understood what I'm trying to say, even though my grammar and articulation might be not perfect, but when it tells you back, you know that yes, it understood, right? Okay, let's see. I hope it does it properly. Let's see. All right, it has done something. So it is reloading the preview. It says updated the code card background color to darker shades for better white text contrast. Changed all the 4 color swatches from light pastels to deep saturated colors. Good. Improved readability while maintaining distinct color families for each option. Perfect. Let's see when the preview generates. Okay, waiting. Hold on for a moment. Let's see. What's interesting is this is a mobile app. This is not just a web. So I can literally run it on my phone. I also see an option says install on phone. So we'll check it out right after this works. It'll be beautiful to see how it installs on my phone. And I can also see it in full screen. Okay, full screen as in the phone in full screen, sure. All right, yes, now it has darkened it up. So I can change it from this blue, purple, red, and green. And now, of course, the quote is much better readable that way. And this is my shuffle button. So I can click on this shuffle button to change it to another random quote. Let me try and download one more. So download quote card, and it just takes a while. And quote card save to gallery, it says, right? So it gets saved on my gallery. That's what it says. And quote canvas. I think we are almost out of time. So we have a pretty good functional app running. So let's also see how install on phone works. So when I click on this, it says, oh damn, iOS is coming soon. I have an iPhone, as you can see out here. So I won't be able to do it. But Android, if you have an Android, you can. So download our APK to test on Android device or emulator. So how to install an APK? If you click on it, it shows you instructions. Enable your Android device to install apps from outside. That unknown sources thing you have a setting on your Android, isn't it? So locate the APK that you download, put it on your Android phone and install it. It is going to run. Okay, so that's simple. It is on iOS. It is coming soon. So I'm not going to waste my time building because I don't have an Android device with me right now. But this is how you make a fully functional app which can run on your phone right away in 10 minutes. Sounds crazy, but you can do it. Now that we have built an app in 10 minutes, it's time for us to go and do something in 1 hour. And let's see what 1 hour of time can do. What different or more can we do for the remaining 50 minutes of time that we have? Of course, I'll try to condense as much as possible into it because I know that a 1 hour, 10-minute long video might be too much for you. So we will compress it, speed up wherever it is not needed. But we will cover everything that we do. Now, here's what I'm going to do. So in the previous one, in the 10-minute version, I didn't really design anything. I left everything to AI. I just gave instructions because writing, of course, I didn't even type. I just narrated, right? So there, when I was doing it, AI did everything, whatever it felt was right. Now we are going to do it slightly different, and we're going to use this option called Import Figma. So if you click on it, you have an option to paste a Figma file out here. But before we do that, we need to have a Figma file, which means we need to design something, right? So we will go to Figma and design something. I've already made something out here, a blank canvas that I have out here. But I'll be frank here. Let me confess. I think what it did, what we just generated, this thing, functionality is pretty much there. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a colored card with a quote, and it also mentioned the whose quote it is, and a shuffle button inside the card because that's what I wanted it. Then 4 swatches so that I could change the color of the card, and a download button. This was pretty much what I wanted. I also said that first you put the card, then you put the swatches, have that shuffle inside the card, and a download at the bottom, right? That's exactly what I wanted, and it kind of did. So I'm not going to change the structure of this page all that much, even now when I take it to Figma. In fact, I'm going to use this as a reference to go and design a better looking UI, if I may put it this way, right? So I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this and I'm going to bring it to Figma, and I'll be using this as a reference to design my app. Okay, so let's go right now. So we are on Figma right now, and I'm going to call it Inspiro, something to do with inspiration, right? Okay, let's go ahead and bring and artboard, right? And this artboard, I usually put 360 by 780. Doesn't quite matter because we're going to build it anyways. And the changes that I'm going to make is I want a dark cap. So let me just go ahead and fill the background of it with black. Okay. And now we will make the card. Okay. So let me just draw a frame inside this frame. Okay. Let me draw a frame inside this frame. And for the time being, let me fill it up with the same blue so that I at least see what is happening. Okay. And I can, of course, resize it accordingly. We will look into it. Okay, so we can determine the size of this by deciding how much of space or padding that you want to leave on the left and the right side. I think I want to leave around 40 pixels of padding. So, here it is 41 right now, here it's 39. So yeah, that's around 40 and 40 padding. So that gives us a width of around 280. Now remember, we were talking about 9:16. So if the width is 280, what should be my height? The height should be 280 into 16 divided by 9. I hope it does the math. So it is 497.78. Of course, we are not going to put that. I'm going to change it to 496, which feels like a more rounded off value. All right. And now rounded corner. And this is where we will start playing. Okay. Now let's go ahead and write the code. And this is where we will make some changes. I feel, quotes could be long, but we also have a pretty big card. So why not make the quote as the hero? That is, slightly bigger text. And I think I'm going to stick to the most common serif font that you have, which is around Times New Roman. So let me just write it down. And innovation distinguishes between a leader. Okay, and let's just bring it here. Distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Okay, so this is my quote, and of course I'm going to have some padding inside it. I'm just going to add some layout grids here. Layout grids, I'm a big fan of 4-pixel grids, so let me just add it here. And around 22, no, I'm going to make around 24 of padding here and 24 on the other side as well. Another 4. There we are. It is somewhere at the center. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Now, in the design that Rocket had made, it had quote there. I don't want to do that. I want to do something different, right? What if I have a quote mark somewhere at the top as a decorative element rather than putting it inside quotation? That's what I will do. So I'm going to make a copy of this and have this quotation mark, and I'm going to make it much larger, right? This font size is around 36. I'm going to make it 100, maybe even more. What if we make it around 140? Yeah, maybe 140 is good enough, right? But it is still in the textual form. I don't want it to be in the textual form. I want to convert it into a shape. So I'm just going to right click on it. Oh, there it is. I'm just going to right click on it and do an outline stroke. So the moment I do an outline stroke, it's not text anymore. It is converted to shape, right? It's a vector shape right now, if you see. And I will place it somewhere here. And, so that it doesn't, you can keep it dark if you want to. But what I want to do is I want to make it, I want to reduce opacity of it to around 30%. Right? So that, or maybe 20%. Yeah, maybe 20%. So that it's just there as a watermark, right? And of course, when I have it, I also need to write the name of the person, right? So whoever has said the code, and this is going to be a much smaller name, Steve Jobs. But I feel only the quote, I want only the quote to be in a serif font. So, and the name of the person can be in sans serif, I feel. So I'm just going to use Helvetica. I'm just trying to use all the most default fonts that are available, and this is going to be much smaller. Let's try 20 and 20. No, let me just give it a line height of 24. Actually, 20 is also big, so I'm just going to make it maybe 16. Yeah, 16 is fine. Regular is good enough, and I'm also going to reduce opacity of this as well. Now, this I'll make it around 60% opacity. So Steve Jobs has said this one. So this is my code card. Okay, now this is where I will go ahead and make some changes, right? I'm going to add auto layout to it. I don't know if this will matter or not because AI could be smart enough to figure things out. But if we give instructions as to how this card should behave when the width of the device changes, nothing like it. So we're going to add some auto layout and try to make a responsive layout for this whole thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. first things first, I'm going to add an auto layout to these two, which is the name and the code itself. So I'm going to do a Shift A and an auto layout is added out here. So right now the spacing between them is around 19 pixels. Now I will reduce it maybe to this and make it around 16 pixels. I think this is fine. We'll tweak it later if we need to. And then also in the same place, I also needed a shuffle button, if you remember, a shuffle button somewhere here. And since this whole thing is left aligned, I'm just going to have a left aligned shuffle button here. A very simple outline button is what I'm going to have. Okay, so I'm going to give it a height of around 24 pixels, and width we'll figure out how much is needed. And I'm going to add shuffle. And like I mentioned, I just want the quote to be in serif font and everything can be in sans serif font. So we'll go ahead and use the same Helvetica that we had used, and I'll make it all caps actually. So it means I can go really small. I can make it 11 pixels or maybe 12 pixels. We'll try it out. And I'm going to make it all caps. Actually, we don't need this background. I'm going to make this whole thing a frame instead of a group. And I will delete this rectangle. You know, I don't even need this rectangle because I can give a fill or whatever I want to this thing itself. So I'm going to give it a stroke. A white stroke is what I'm going to give it, and position should be center. Yes, around 1.5 pixels should be good. And inside this, the text also, I'm going to make it thicker because this is a button. I'm going to make it bold, and there it is. Oh yeah, I think this is the reason why it was not happening. I've given it a height. I think I can go and try trim now. Yes, it is. This text will also be white. Okay. And I'm going to make it look like a pill, which means if this is my frame, this is the frame of my button, frame 1, I'm just going to call it shuffle button, okay? And this one, since the height is 24, to make it fully pill-like, I need to have a corner radius, which is at least 12, which is like this. Well, now that I look at it, I feel 1.5 is actually too thick for this. I'm going to make it back to 1, right? The thickness, I'm going to make it back to 1. Okay, this is good. And I'm also going to do a few more things. I don't want this button to be standing out so much. I know this is a call to action using which you can do something, but it doesn't need to stand so much. So the stroke can have reduced opacity, you know, around 30% or 40%, maybe 30% is good. And even this text doesn't need to be 100% opacity. I'm going to make it 80% opacity so that, you know, it is visible. But the main thing in this page remains this, okay? Now, since this whole thing is a frame, I'm going to add an auto layout to this as well. Like this is essentially when you add an auto layout to a frame, the frame converts to an auto layout, and that's what is going to happen here, right? And that's what we are going to do. Let's see what happens. I do a Shift A. Yeah, things moved around a bit. So this is what we will do. I'm going to set the height back to what we had, which was 496. Yes, I remember the number. So I'm just going to hit it, which means I've fixed the height of it. And if you see what it has done is, it has taken it at the top, okay? But I want it to be spread across the vertical. Means no matter what the height of it is, I want this quote with the name of the person to be at the center, the shuffle to be at the bottom edge, this watermark at the top edge. This is what I want. So what I could do is I could just double click on this and it just spreads the element around, right? If you see this lines that you see out here, it is to the left, but that vertically it just spreads across the entire vertical space that you have. So this is what it is, okay? And you know, we still have 40 and 40 on both the sides, and this is where we are. Now let us go ahead and make the swatches, okay? We'll keep moving around, and also, okay, we wanted to give it a rounded corner, right? Let's go and give it a rounded corner of around maybe 24 pixels. And of course, I will give it a corner smoothing of 100%. Yeah, I know iOS, the default is 60%, but I kind of like 100%. So let us give it a 100% corner smoothing. So there we have our quote card. You know, this is the hero of our design because, you know, this is what you design, this is what you download, and this is what you show off. Whether you put a story, you put a wallpaper, whatever it is, right? This is what you download. So how it looks has a lot of things to do. But, you know, we are going to do more. I think we could do better by having some gradient instead of a solid color, which we will try just in a bit. But before that, let's make the rest of the UI. So the rest of the UI will, of course, have these swatches, right? Now, these swatches were fully functional, what Rocket had made, but I see that the selection, if you zoom in enough, you'll see there's a gray outline around it, which I feel is not quite visible. We could do better in that aspect, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make circles, right? I'm going to make circles, and it could be around 32 by 32. Okay, what if we make it 40 by 40? Yeah. Actually, let's make it 36 by 36. Okay, so 36 by 36 is one circle, and similarly, we will have, 3 more. So these are our swatches. Okay, we'll fill the color to it. Don't worry. I'll keep it centered because that's how it is underneath. And now we want the selected state. For the time being, let me just fill it up with the same colors which are present out here, which I'm going to change, of course. But for now, just so that, we establish the difference. And now here, the selected state, this is what I want to do. Of course, I want to duplicate this circle, get away with the fill, but add a stroke, right? Add a white stroke, get away with the fill, and again, position it center. And this one, I'm going to give it 1.5 as the thickness. Okay. Now, this looks good to me. This is, I think it's a much better selector than what was done out here. Well, nothing is fully wrong with it, but I kind of like this one more, right? So I'm going to keep it like this. And I've kept around 4 pixels of padding. Actually, we can increase this a little more. What if we make it 48 by 48? That way I will have 6 pixels padding around it. So whenever something is selected, this white circle is going to move to that. Okay. All right. So this is what we have. I'm going to just select all of them and bring it a little towards the top. Okay, and the next thing we are going to do is we are going to redesign this button as well. Again, if you see in this regard, I want to keep the buttons. I want to do something which is not standard, meaning, we usually make the buttons very, very prominent. In this one, I'm not going to bother much about it because the hero is the card, right? So the card is the one which is going to stand out the most, and everything else I'm going to keep it slightly subtle, meaning not so subtle as well. But what I intend to do is even the main button, although I'll make it big, I would make it similar to this one, just an outline button with a white outline. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the frame tool and create a frame like this and add a stroke to it, a white one. Okay. And this one, again, the position could be center, and let's see what has happened out here. Height is 52. Maybe, we don't need 52. A 48 pixels height is good enough. And, 30 is a little too less. I'm going to make it 24, around 24 pixels on each side. So I'm going to resize this button so that there is a padding of around 24 on both sides. Now, if the height of this is 48, the rounded corner has to be at least 24 for it to be a full pill. And that's what I want out here. Now, if you see, this is our main button, and I'm going to give a text inside. I'm going to use the same text and perhaps make it slightly bigger because there's a bigger button, and I'll bring it here, and download quote card should be the one. Download. Actually, I'll just call it download card because quote is understood. That's the only card that we have out here. I'm going to center it within the button. Okay, there we have it. Okay, now that I look at it, I feel the text here can be slightly wider. That makes it look good. So character spacing. The letter spacing is 0 pixel right now. I'm going to make it 2, or how about 3? Now 3 is a little too much. Maybe 2 is good. I'll just make it slightly spaced out because it works for text buttons. Or maybe how about 1? Yeah, let's try 1 pixels. And if I make it 1 pixel, then, I could also increase the width of it a little more and ensure that the shuffle is again centered. Oh, no. Yep. This is fine. So there I have it. I'm going to give the same treatment to this button as well. So the text was 80% opacity and the stroke was 20% opacity. I'm going to do the same thing here as well. Stroke, I'm going to give it a 20% opacity, and this text, I can give it up 80% opacity, right? Okay, let's just use the layer opacity, and there we have it. This is our button. Which is there. Okay, now here if you see, I've used a neutral color, black as the background, and I have used neutral colors for the button as well. Now, you'd say that, hey, every app needs to have a branding color, right? For example, Swiggy is orange, Gojek is green, Zomato is red, and so on. So every brand has a color, but here we haven't really used it, and there's a reason behind it, because this is already something where you pick colors. And if you use another color in the button, it might be a little too much, because I have color swatches here using which I'll change the color of the app and all of that. But if we bring color here as well, it might just start conflicting. So the better option is to stick to something which is neutral. Of course, I could have used a white solid button here as well. That would have worked as well. But I somehow felt that I should make this card as a hero, because if I made it white, this would also stand out pretty much, and that's not what I wanted, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and add a name to it. And the name that I figured out for my app is Inspiro. And here again, I've cheated just a little bit, because I kind of made a logo for this. And also I decided some of those gradients, okay? So we'll use these gradients as starting points, and then we'll tweak it and see how it looks on the app, okay? So that's what it is. But this logo, I kind of like it. What I did was I just wrote Inspiro in normal text, the same Helvetica font, and then I, converted into outlines, reduced the height of the eye, got away with the dot of the eye, and put a down quote instead, so that it's a quote, inspirational quote, that's why. So I'll just copy it, and I'm going to bring it here and bring it all the way to the top, because that's how, app headers are, right? So we're just going to take it to the top. Don't worry about adding a status bar. Normally, when I'm designing on Figma, I always say that use an Android or an iOS status bar, which has the battery, Wi-Fi, and all of them, because when you preview it on your mobile, it feels like a real app. But here you don't have to do that, because our goal is to not preview it on Figma, but our goal is to move these to Rocket and develop it. So, if we add another status bar in the design itself, it might confuse the tool. I don't want to take that risk. Maybe it'll not get confused because it's AI, it's smart, but then I don't want to take that risk, right? So I'm just going to have the normal spacing at the top. I'm just going to align it with a grid, and I will move this a little up, because if this is the card out here, this is where maybe the name should go. And these things could just go a little higher like this, and just stay there. All in all, it's Snap that doesn't have any scroll position. So this download card and this swatches would be at the bottom. The card would be somewhere in the center, which of course the name of the app at the top, right? So sure, this is how it is. And let's quickly go ahead and change this colors, okay? Like I said, I cheated a bit by pre-deciding some of these gradients before, because I tend to waste a lot of time in making gradients, but we will tweak it a bit, okay? Don't worry about it. But before that, should I just go ahead and do the outer layout? Yes, I think we should do that, right? So see, this is one of the sizes. If you remember, I had picked up a size of 360 by 780, which means if I widen it, nothing quite happens. This kind of stays like this. That's not what I want. Of course, this thing somehow got centered, because when I pasted, maybe something happened. So this is properly centered, which is nice. And this one, I don't just want it to center, but I also want the width of this button to grow while maintaining at 24 and 24 padding on each side. Now the way to do it is to add another auto layout on top of it, right? So this one, so I will add another auto layout on top of it, which is this. So if you see, this frame 3 is my button, right? I'll just call it download CTA, and this one is I don't know, CTA layout or something, right? Okay, so the reason why they've added this auto layout is so that we can add this padding out here, which is 24 by 24. Okay, now if you see, the moment I added it, the button shrinked in size to make space for this paddings. And now this whole thing, the CTA layout that I mentioned, I could go and stretch it all the way to the end so that it goes like this, right? There we go. Now this CTA layout, if I, in the constraints, it is set to left. If I make it scale, and now if I go ahead and change the width of it, you will see the width of the button will change while maintaining that 24 by 24 padding on each side. Now we could change that as well. This is 24, right? At any time I can go and make it maybe 28 or maybe 32. And even when I do that, if I go ahead and just change the width, it is going to maintain that padding on each of the side. That's the magic of auto layout, and that's how code works, by the way, right? Oh, I think 32 is a little too much. Maybe I'll make it 28. So 28 it is. There we have it. Now these swatches, of course, I want them to be centered. So I'll just group them for the sake of it. And I'm just going to make it center. Since I do not want any particular padding to be maintained, I don't need to add another auto layout. All that I need to do is just tell the constraint that be on the center. So now if I pull the width of it, you'll see this Inspiro, it was already centered, it stays in the center, and this swatches also stay at the center, and the button alone grows in width. Okay, so there we have it. Now we have the card. Now there are a couple of things that we can do to the card. So I could, either center it. If I center it, and if I just widen it, you'll see it just goes in the center. Sure, that's one thing that we can do. But what I feel another thing that we can do is, because in some very small devices or big devices, this could feel like an alien object. In a very big device, this might end up looking like a small card. And in small devices, this swatch and this button can overlap on the card. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make it proportionate, right? So I'll click this card. The first thing I'm going to do is click on this button which says lock aspect ratio, because aspect ratio is important for us. 9:16 is what we wanted. We don't want it to spread across the phone so much that it loses its aspect ratio. So I'm going to lock the aspect ratio. Now, in the moment you do that, oh, this is a nice interaction. When you lock it, you see this got connected. Interesting. Good job there, Figma. Okay, now what I could do is, instead of center, I can make it scale. Now, when I make it scale, what happens is, when I change the width, the card grows. The card grows. Now, you might be thinking, hey, this is bad. This button and all is coming on top of it. But you need to know that this is not how the phones would grow, right? So if you go and want to see how the preview would be, go to frame, select this frame, go to this frame drop down and change the size. Change it to 16 Pro Max. Yeah, this is how it is. Okay, we need to change a few things here. Let's just undo. So this one, we wanted constraints to be at the bottom. And so is this. We want this constraint not at the top, but at the bottom. Now, when you do that and go and change, for example, this one frame, if you make it 16 Pro Max, you see the card has grown. These two are still sticking to the bottom, right? Yes, there's some unwanted space out here, but okay, that's fine for now. So similarly, if I change it to some other device, for iPhone 13 and 14, you see this just card kind of proportionately scales down, because 9:16, for this card, we have locked the aspect ratio, right? So yeah, now we can say with certainty that this is going to work for most of the sizes, right? So I'm just going to go to the manual size, which I had added, which is nothing but 360 by 780. That's a size that I use. I think it previews the best on my phone like this. Okay, so yeah, this is what it is. And we'll change the color, of course. Yes, I said. And I think we're done with this job, right? I also like how they had used the icons out here, but I'll skip designing the icons because it's going to take some time. I will keep it aside. Boss, your work is done for now. Now we'll use the gradients, right? So there's a solid color blue. I'm going to change it to a gradient. The top color, I'm going to pick this one, and the bottom color, I'm going to pick this one, right? Okay, so this is one of the colors that we have, which is nice, right? Similarly, the second color, I could just make 4 copies of it. And the second one, I could try to pick a color which is along the lines of this. The top one is a teal blue, and the bottom one is kind of a darker shade of blue. And similarly, this one, I could pick the top color as a yellowish green, and the bottom one is more like a spinach green or something. And similarly, for the last one, we could pick the top color as this pinkish, and the bottom one as this salmon color, right? Of course, feel free to tweak all of these. Actually, I feel like tweaking this one. I feel these are pretty bright and saturated. This alone isn't very bright and saturated. So I'm just going to brighten things up just a little bit, especially the bottom one. Yeah, I'll just move it aside so that I see what is happening. Yeah. See, normally bright and saturated colors depends on your preferences, but in this case, since everything is pretty much subtle, it's just black. Even for buttons, we're not using colors, so it is okay. Like I said, this card is the hero, right? Okay, so there we have it. And now I'm just going to use the same gradient here, right? I'm just going to do a Command-Shift-C and come to this swatch, Command-Shift-V, right? Similarly for this one, Command-Shift-C, the second one is Command-Shift-V. The green, Command-Shift-C, Command-Shift-V, and for the salmon one, Command-Shift-C and Command-Shift-V. So these are my final colors, okay? Now I'm going to copy this and I will delete all of them and select all these and paste in all of them. Of course, what I need to do is move this selector circle here because, of course, the blue is selected and here the green is selected and here, of course, the pink/orange is selected, right? So here, my design is almost ready. Of course, I don't need these also anymore. I will just keep them aside. We have our design pretty much ready, okay? I'll do one more thing. I feel let's make a splash screen also, since we just have it. So I'm just going to remove this card and all the stuff that we have out here. I'm just going to take this logo and just make it bigger, and I'm just going to keep. So, the brand color of this app maybe is black, like Uber, right? So this is my splash, I'll name it. This is not color 7, but color 1. This one is color 2. This one is color 3. And this one is color 4. Okay, so here we have all of them. But I also realized that, I don't need to have all these cards. I don't have to feed all these things to the tool, to the Rocket tool, right? Because it just needs one screen and perhaps a splash to know what design I'm looking at, because this will carry forward the gradients, I'm assuming. So, I'm just going to create one more page. I'm going to call it Rocket Import. And from the hands-on file, I'm just going to copy these two and I'm going to bring it here so that, this is a clean page. It just has the splash and this, all the auto layouts and stuff that we have added are still valid, as you see. Okay. All right, I made one more small change as well, which is to replace the fonts with free fonts. Now, I changed Times New Roman to IBM Plex Serif and this one, the other one which I had, to Inter, because these are free fonts. If you have the licensed fonts, go ahead and use whatever you want. But for this one, I just thought of sticking to free fonts. Okay, so we have our splash screen and our code screen ready. Now we'll go to Rocket. So here you have this option called Import Figma, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on Share and click this thing called Copy Link. And I'll go back to Rocket and I'm going to click Import Figma. And when I do, it asks me to paste the link, and I'm just going to go and paste it and click Start Import. Now you'll see that I don't really have to give a prompt out here, right? It is going to understand, I'm hoping it is going to understand some of the functionality based on the design itself, or I can keep adding the subsequent prompts to add the functionalities. Okay, so it has read my Figma file and says that it has multiple pages. So in Rocket Import is when we have our stuff. So I'm going to select both of these and select import or start import, the two frames which we wanted to do anyways, which was on this page. Now it's asking me, let's customize your tech stack. There's only one option, Flutter, because it makes those mobile apps on Flutter. So I'm just going to click and confirm. And let's see what else it asks for. Okay, it's asking me select state management option. Now, state management is, it manages the state of the app, to put it in simple words. If you don't understand, don't worry about it. So between these options, I'm going to pick a block. All of them would do your job, of course, except the last one where you're saying that I don't want state management. I'm going to pick block because that's good. That's better these days is what I've heard. So I'll go ahead and select block and click confirm, right? Don't worry. This is just an option which you need to feed. Yeah, it's a little too technical. Maybe Rocket could simplify some of these things. People who are using this tool may not be acquainted with some of those stuff, right? All right, so it is fetching some stuff out here. It's, scanning the Figma design, downloading screen images. It's got a list of things for it to do, and then it's going to write the code. So like I said, here, when we were doing it without any design references, we were just writing the prompt, a big prompt that we had written, which talks about the functionalities that we wanted. Now we haven't done any of that. Because it is just writing the code without even asking for what implementation I wanted it, because the tool might understand. I'm hoping it'll understand at least some part of the functionality. The shuffle should change a quote, or switching the color selecting a color should change the background of the color, and so on, because some of those things are obvious UI elements which I have used. Of course, if your design has some non-obvious UI elements, which is like novel, maybe you may not see some of those auto implemented. Well, even in this, some of the functionalities may not be implemented because it is just trying to understand from the design what the functionalities I might be wanting. All right, it says that it'll take 7 to 10 minutes to build as per your request. So I'm gonna trim this part, like I said, and I'm cheating a bit. Ideally, this should also be a part of the 1 hour, but hey, I said I will spend 1 hour, right? So the tool can spend a little more time if needed. So, we'll chop off this part and we'll come back after some 7 or 10 minutes. We'll speed it up. Or you can just keep seeing me doing random stuff while waiting for my code to be built. Your wish. All right, the build is done and we are landed with this preview. Well, it says that there is one error out here which says waiting for another Flutter command to release the startup log. In fact, this error was shown also already once in the past and I clicked on fix it. It did fix, but then I don't know why it is showing. I'm just going to continue because it's very easily fixable. So if you see, this is a layout which it has made. It has done a pretty good job, except for one thing it terribly broke is the shuffle button. It should be inside the car and not outside. So I think I'll just go ahead and write some prompts to fix that, right? So let's go ahead and do that regardless. The shuffle button should be inside the card, left and bottom aligned to the card inside. Okay, all right, let's go and hit enter and see if it understands what I said, because I just dictated something. I hope it understands. And meanwhile, let's see. Oh, did I say Shahid button? No, it was supposed to be shuffle button, not Shahid. Oh, voice typing has messed up. Anyways, let's see. If it understands that there's no Shahid button, but the shuffle button, well and good. Otherwise, we'll re-give the prompt. Regarding functionality, it actually picked the color swatch thing pretty well. You see, although we have not told it that clicking on this swatch should change the color of the card, it did, because it was a standard component which I had designed, right? It just felt like it's a swatch, so it did that. Now, whether clicking on that shuffle button changes the code or not, I do not know yet, because it's overlapping with the first swatch. So only when I move this button inside, I'll be able to click it, and then only I'll be able to say whether it's working as a button or not. So we'll have to wait some time for it. Oh, damn, it's also changed the shuffle to Shahid. No, you don't have to. Sorry. Oh, man. Okay, don't voice type. No, please. All right, if you're voice typing, please correct it and don't be in a hurry like what I did. I know I have a timer running, man. It's okay. All right, so at the top, you will see there are 3 tabs, the code, the preview, and the Figma. For a while, I thought, did it build this? Wow, beautiful. But no, okay, this is the Figma design itself, and this is the preview where it is generating right now. Let's see what it does after this. I know it's going to have the text Shahid. It's not supposed to be that. All right, here we are. I'm going to select the code screen, and okay, yeah, it brought it inside, and it says Shahid right now. Okay. And okay, there's no functionality. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to use voice typing again. Enter, and let's see it makes those changes. Somehow, I don't know what is wrong with my voice typing thing out here. Every time I said shuffle, I think how clearly can I say it? It's picking up Shahid for some reason. I don't know. Okay, let's see. All right, it's generating a preview. Let's see. Now you see, this is native code that is being written and it's not web. And that's the reason the amount of time it takes to work is a little more than what you would expect if you would have picked web as a technology, because web is faster than this one, is what my observation have been. Okay, here we are. Let's see the code screen. Yes, it did, but it somehow made its sentence case. I don't know why. Okay, the shuffle functionality is working right now. I see that code is changing, but it should be centered. Okay, let me just add a few more prompts out here. The quote and the author texts should be a group, and this group should be center aligned vertically to the card. Be aligned. Center aligned vertically to the card. The quote and the author text should be a group, and this group should be center aligned vertically to the card. Okay, that should take care of it. The shuffle text inside the button should be all caps. all caps. Again, Shahid. Shuffle text inside the button should be all caps. I think this is fine. And I also give one more thing, which is trim some space between the logo at the top. No, I'll give it later. I'll give it later because there are multiple spaces I want to change. Okay, let's go ahead and hit enter and see if it fixes these. I like how it detected the gradients perfectly. Of course, it had access to the Figma file because, imagine for the purple itself, actually for the purple alone, we had given the full gradient. For the rest of the things like the blue, green, and this, shade of salmon that we had picked, it was all that small swatch. So it figured out the correct gradient and it applied over the car. So it's a good thing out there. Let's see if it's able to fix this one. And I also feel the name of the author, that is Eleanor Roosevelt, in this should have opacity of 60%. That's how our design was, and we'll fix that as well. All right, there we have it. Code screen. Yes, it's centered and now it looks much better than before. And the shuffle button is also working and it is changing the code. All right. Is it just swapping between? Oh no, it has multiple codes. I thought it was just swapping between two codes. Very convenient, huh? Okay, all right. Now let's fix some of the paddings here so that everything is in the one single scroll span. Okay, all right. Let's do this. Reduce some padding between, and then I'm gonna give bullet points. The logo at the top and the card and the swatches. Swatches, not switches. So that the entire UI fits within one scroll span. Okay, I'll just call it single scroll span. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Reduce the padding between the logo at the top and the card, which is this, the card and the swatches, so that it trims some spaces so that the entire UI fits within a single scroll span, so that, there's no scroll involved in this. Right now, you see the button, the download card button is kind of getting trimmed at the top. All right, there we are, the code screen. Let's see if it has fixed the things that we have said. Yes, it did. And now everything is in one single span. Now I think our UI has come up pretty well. Almost, I would say 99% of what we had on Figma. The reason I'm saying 1% is because of corner radius. I personally prefer 100% corner smoothing. Here it is 60%, which is the default in iOS, which is okay. I'm not going to hold it accountable for it. The rest of it is pretty much nailed it. The color is changing, the shuffle button is working, and everything looks just the way we wanted it. So I think we are pretty good in this. And as you see, I can install it on phone like I had shown you before. You can install an APK if you have an Android phone, and for iOS, it is coming soon. One of the biggest flexes that you can have as a designer is to have one app on the App Store or the Play Store, which is made by you. However simple it is, however stupid it is, having one app out in the App Store is a great feeling to have, and Rocket AI can actually enable that for you because it's one of the very few vibe coding tools that actually makes native apps that you can run on your mobile phone. So yes, we made it as per the design on Figma. So here's what I learned. Yes, you can do something in 10 minutes. You can build something, but would you really want to go live and make a fully fledged business out of it? Maybe not. Of course, you don't need to. Who would want to build something in 10 minutes and expect to build a product? But you can definitely make something functional within 10 minutes. It may not look and feel and have the exact experience that you want, but you can still make it. It's a party trick that you can tell people, but this will also be great for prototyping. Whereas building products in 10 minutes may not be feasible or you may not even want to do that, but building a prototype in 10 minutes is highly desirable, and that could be a great thing that you can try with this. Well, 1 hour is not enough even for building a fully fledged product again, but of course, in a 1 hour exercise, you can definitely give more thought to the design. You can actually go into the nuances of how exactly you want to have the experience, what kind of transitions, what kind of flows you would have, what kind of colors and stuff that you'd want to give and so on, because you actually have the time to run it in a design tool like Figma and then build it in a tool like Rocket. But the real takeaway is this: speed means nothing without clarity. And tools like Rocket help you think better more than helping you build and design faster. So if you're trying to become that high agency, product-minded designer, start working like one. Go to rocket.new and build something. The links are in the description. And if you enjoyed this challenge, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what should I try building next.